Puerto Rico has defaulted on $174 million of debt today, and this is just something that they've been carrying along for a long, long time. It all began on December, when they were able to pay the December payment by shuffling money around. The situation in Puerto Rico is very simple to understand. Imagine one of the families in the United States that struggles to make ends meet. Like every month, they have to decide if they're gonna pay the car, or they're gonna pay the mortgage, or they're gonna pay the credit cards. That is the situation of Puerto Rico. The governor came to the media today and defended the move the best he could, saying we do not have any money left. This is the reality. Puerto Rico is facing $72 billion in deficit right now, Nick. It's a crisis. And the problem, most of it is municipal bonds. So this is people that is going to get affected. Some hedge fund managers, which I don't care about, but many people that have their future invested in these municipal bonds. Now, the problem with Puerto Rico is that they do not enjoy the benefit, like many states, to have support from the federal government. Congress is trying or pretending to do something about it, trying to open a way for the federal funds to be available to Puerto Rico to, like other states, declare bankruptcy. But in the meantime, they are fending for themselves.
And it's true, and you could only shuffle money around for so long before it really comes back and bites you in the butt. But the reality is, this really doesn't matter to most Americans, and people really aren't talking about it. Yes, technically it is part of, this country in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it really doesn't affect us here at home one bit, so people really aren't interested in it. But, it's hard to say, for example, that there's one thing causing this. I think there is a lot of different things. I mean, everything from certain austerity measures that were lifted quite a long time ago to, the number of Puerto Ricans who are leaving the island, coming to the mainland, and not really paying Puerto Rican taxes, they're paying taxes here. So that money doesn't go back to Puerto Rico itself. Everything from that to, certain people who are bureaucrats or have certain jobs getting much higher salaries than other people when they really shouldn't be. So a lot of different things going on, and it's really sad to see.
We've been discussing this. We were talking about how Puerto Rico has had to decide in between opening schools or closing schools, for that matter, in order to pay debt. The money of one agency has been shuffled to the other one, so they are able to pay. Since November, $340 million has been shuffled in order to prevent the default that finally came today. And now the Bond Authority of Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rico Infrastructure Financing Authority, has been downgraded on their credit rating from CC to D. They say that this practice, called a clawback, where you take money from one place to pay a debt without bringing that money back or knowing how you're going to put that money back into the fund, opens up the Commonwealth for litigation. So they're putting themselves in financial trouble because they do not have the protection of the states. And now it raises the question, what is the benefit of being a Commonwealth? What is the benefit for Puerto Rico of being a protected territory of the United States if they find themselves? If you live in Puerto Rico, if you're not a resident of continental U.S., you cannot vote. You find yourself where the government is not caring for you. They don't care about the social programs. They do have some congressional representation, but at the end of the day, Puerto Ricans are finding themselves alone, seeing how the hedge funds are trying to push the government into selling infrastructure, into cutting down more social programs in order to pay back this debt. $72 billion. That is a lot of money, Nick.
Wow, a whole lot of money, So you raise the question, what's the point then, right? And there really isn't many points there to answer that question. But at the same time, it seems like it's hurting them more than anything because going back to the point that I mentioned, so many are able to leave, right, and come work here. You don't need any special visa because technically they're part of the U.S. So it's like that's actually hurting them in the long run because, like I said, they're leaving and they're not paying taxes in Puerto Rico. They're coming here, and then all that money, all that workforce is leaving for mainland because they all want to come here where there's more opportunities and more jobs. And you said it quite well. We're not really doing anything to help them out here at all, but on top of that, we're actually doing a lot of things that hurt them, and we're keeping money that they should have away from them too.
And I think you're talking about the $94 million that Puerto Rico was supposed to receive from the federal government out of a tax, an excise tax that the federal government puts upon Puerto Rican rum. Puerto Rico says, well, we've been waiting for that money, $94 million, more than half of what we needed to pay this Monday. We've never seen a cent of that money. We have two graphs we would like to have. The first one is the debt per capita of Puerto Rico compared to the other states in the United States. The median of a U.S. state is $1,000 of debt. Puerto Rico has $15,000. Connecticut, one of the most troublesome cities in this regard, 1/3 of the debt of Puerto Rico. And now the unemployment rate, which has had a little uptick back after the crisis in 2009, 2010, but since has been declining. There's little trust in Puerto Rico. People do not want to invest. The foreign investors are all gone. It had a boom during 2008 with all the real estate and all the people that wanted to buy properties there, but then suddenly collapsed, and now they find themselves in a very dire situation where today they defaulted $174 million as part of the bigger problem, $72 billion of deficit that they have to face eventually.